Alright guys, so I got some more work done. It's been kind of all over the place. Right now, I have majority of all the spot welds out of the driver's side. I have the entirety of, let's see if I can move around on my junk here, the entirety of the frame rail gone. On the driver's side, and as you can see, I cleaned down to and took out a lot of the front gas tank mount kind of tunnel. You can see where I stopped there in about the middle. The entire talon rear subframe and floor pan is out. It's in here. I'm gonna see what I need to do after I get the rest of this cleared out of the back of the Mirage. Got all the spot welds drilled out, got that separated in there. You can see through that. Gotta work a little more with exactly where I'm taking everything out. You have to take the whole back seat brace, the backing out as well. I have to drill the spot welds out. So I still have to disassemble that whole side and get it tore apart as well. But some sense of progress. I also started tackling the strut problem because this is the condition of the Eclipse struts that I got, or talon, however you want to label it. The upper parts don't seem too awful bad. I might just be able to use the brackets, and I haven't really taken the time to measure, but I think if I remember right, that the Mirage and the Eclipse tops are pretty much the same. So, but the length and the mounting at the bottom is not the same on the Mirage as it is on the Talon Eclipse all-wheel drives. Use a different mounting point, but I did find something really interesting out in toying around with a lot of stuff. I tore apart, this is the strut, upper strut mount for the front of the Eclipse. The rest of the parts are over here. This is the Mirage strut. That's the Mirage spring and upper spring perch. This is the Eclipse front spring and upper spring perch. I did find out that this area here and this area here are pretty much identical. And although the piston on the Eclipse is a fatter piston, the spring diameter is bigger. So this isn't going to work mixing together any of those parts, other than I did find the hat will. So what I can do is run the upper strut mount for the Mirage, and from everything I could do rough, which I couldn't completely get it ironed out because whoever had worked on this before, so I figure out how this is all jammed together here, whoever had worked on this way back when had two nuts on the top here, and you could see they destroyed the threads. I don't even know how they had this set up. That was actually damaged. I hammered that back together. The flat spot, it spun around this right here where the flat is. It was like twisted. This part was clocked, basically. The upper spring perch was clocked in the wrong direction. And my initial measurements seemed like maybe it would contact, but it looks like pretty much with steering rotation, that I can use the Eclipse, first gen Eclipse strut. And the only other thing that needs modified is right here. The holes are a little bit closer together on the Mirage knuckle. So, need to work on that. Basically, I have to take the Eclipse strut and kind of just take these holes a little bit inboard more towards each other. And that's, other than that, it's, you know, double walled, pretty good. So not a big deal there. the car didn't ride that bad. I've ridden and driven in some cars, even like when I worked at dealerships and garages. This is my Mirage Strut that I was driving, and usually they get a lot of bounce to them whenever there's really no strut dampening. There's some apparently left still, but it's bad. I mean, you can see I can just push it down with my fingertip, and it doesn't even try to come back up. And then it's got some of this rebound left, but when you try to pull it up, try to do it with one hand, it's not working. So I got it all the way up, and it just drops on its own. Just has no problem just collapsing slowly. So it had nothing much left to it as far as usability. I think especially from it being all shiny black, painted pretty much, I think I actually bought these to fix. I think it was damaged. It was the right purchase. They used the later 97 and up upper strut mount, and I had to buy that one, I think, from KYB. But so I got a hold of a set of these, which I could not find for the Mirage. These are adjustable KYB factory style struts, which I'm a big fan of because factory stuff rides better, lasts longer. I love coilovers and whatnot for their functionality, but as a real true daily driver, not a make-believe racer thing, the factory usually does most everything about as wide range of possibilities for daily driving as you're going to get. So, but it looks like this actually, I'll be able to reuse this on top of the Eclipse spring and strut and just hollow out some of the holes. Now, of course, it sucks buying brand new struts and drilling out some of the brand new holes, but I'm going to test fit all this first. I actually just picked up a spring compressor, so I can do that. And I'm going to just make sure I do a final check with the old stuff. I'm probably going to buy a new upper spring perch and maybe the rubbers and the bellows for the dust boots, just to make sure that it kind of has enough healthy parts, because pretty much everything I have here, this is my old strut stuff for the Mirage. This is some of what was left for the Eclipse. I don't even know if the whole thing was still there. I might be laying around. I might have thrown it away because it was in my road. But yeah, all that stuff was pretty much wore out. So picked up some Megan lowering springs as well, just because I wanted something close to stock but with more spring rate. So hopefully when I get this all sorted, I also have the KYB AGX adjustables for the rear coming. So I'm basically going to be, looks like I'm going to be swapping all first gen DSM stuff into this car. Obviously that wouldn't normally work in the back, but most people aren't normally cutting the back end of a first gen DSM and throwing it under a 5G Mirage. So, but that's kind of where I'm at now, and I'm going to kind of test some of that out and hopefully find some more out and have more for you later. All right, so after about 5 or 10 minutes, probably about 10 minutes to be honest with you, I got a little bit of my threads back with my thread file. You can see I have a lot of ways to go here. This is why you pay attention and you don't fucking strip shit out. So after entirely too much time messing around with my thread file and then the thread chaser, turns out the Mirage is a 125 pitch. I believe they're both 12. But this is one of the nuts that was on there. And strangely enough, it didn't look that damaged until after I ran it on again, after I used that and cleaned it all up. But you can see, this isn't too bad looking at all at this point. Probably a good hour fucking around with it. But now it's pretty usable, and I just had the thread file on it. Threw this on there, got down a couple threads and bound up, backed it off. It's a little chewed up inside now, and I had to run the thread chaser on that again. So probably something wrong with this nut. So now I got to go find another one of those, and then I can try to test this out with all of the various parts. So I think I may have found an answer. I found an old newer old lug nut, but seems to be fine. hopefully I can get this to fit down inside the strut top. I don't know why it keeps binding up. I just think this thing's so messed up. I'm just having some bad luck here. I just ran the thread chaser on it again, and then ran the male in this one. But such is the glory of working on somebody else's fuck up. So, try it on the strut mount here. Alright, so it's looking like it should fit down in there. We'll see if it tries to be a pain in my ass or not. I might put a washer underneath. Alright, so just tighten this down with a little washer in there. Really no play. I mean, there's always just a little bit in this. Remember, it's suspension shit, but it's also not loaded. But I'm really not getting any. See if I can get a good visual here. Not getting any play at all. So just that little bit for the pivot. But yeah, it goes right on top of the. This is the Mirage upper on top of the Eclipse upper spring perch. So now I just got to compress the spring, put it all together, and alright. It also appears I may have been wrong. The holes may actually line up correctly. It appears to be that they don't need modified. I could be wrong. There's a little bit of a drop in the bottom there, but not much. So I don't really know if that's just any slack. It's kind of hard to tell, but if I really needed to, I could just hollow, even maybe just draw out the upper one for camber adjustment. That might work, but because I already have a camber bolt in there from the prior setup with the Mirage strut. But I'm going to test it out now. Get a bolt in here and test out the steering. Alright, so we're at full lock one way. I think all the way to the right. I could be wrong. Yeah, I guess left. Let's see what the other side does. And that's full lock left. It appears to be real close up there, but not hitting anything. And technically speaking, I probably could have got that straighter, because this right here, if I'm not mistaken, should line up with that hole there, which would mean it would be over here somewhere, and this whole thing would be a little bit further turned that way. But that's full lock. It's not hitting anything, so it may be that it just works fine. Well, theoretically, everything's right. This should work. The only thing I really have to mess with, other than that, is where I'm going to mount my brake line. I may cut. The big advantage is, especially if going with stock, which I have to look, the AGXs should have a bracket for this. But this is actually already Frankensteined a little bit anyway. There we go. This is, obviously, this is supposed to be an indexing pin. This is the Mirage brake line. And these are Stealth, I don't know, RT or ES or base or whatever. Basically anything other than the twin turbo all-wheel drive brakes, because they'll let me put a 15 or 16 inch wheel on here, which I may want to use if I'm drag racing. This is the only real thing, and I got to basically build a bracket, and I might just hack off, say like the old one from here, and weld it to something to hold it where it needs to be. Or I may just get new brake lines for like stainless steel braided, see what kind of lengths, what I can get, maybe just get something that works with the Eclipse setup, and I'll just install those. Maybe that'll be simpler. But yeah, it's in. I mean, this is obviously just mocked up, but I can get some new hardware, and once I get the coil springs in, and I should be able to, oh, I'm going to get the other perch probably, just because those are so rusty. I should be able to finish this part up, and that should be set to go for the car.